Please take care of yourselves during this workshop. Sometimes you don't know that you may feel a certain way, you may get activated or feel like you need a break. Please take care of yourselves. We want you to practice self care. One thing I want to say is that we're living in the midst of community and of the world, and nothing happens in a vacuum. We are all impacted by all systems of oppression. So there are things that are operating around us on a regular basis, and how you identify who you are is also going to impact how things happen, what resources are available to you, if people believe you or not. A lot of this is intertwined with violence, and so you can see things on the screen here like patriarchy or racism or colonization or environmental terrorism, capitalism. All of these things are operating on a constant because they are systemic based. These are systems that are around us. And so who we are in the middle of this is going to inform everything, how we experience trauma, where we can get help, and things of that nature. So always keep that in mind because these things really aren't separate. They're just very interconnected. But I just wanted to give you an overview of a definition. What is trauma? We say it a lot, we hear it a lot, we use the word traumatize. But if you stop to think about it, everyone on this planet, even from prior to being born, and then definitely from when you're born, experience some type of trauma. And it can be something that makes people feel isolated or makes people feel like, wow, is it only me? But it really isn't. And it is a response to something that is stressful or very intensely stressful that could happen. And it could happen to you, or you could witness it happening. And it includes how your mind, your body, your spirit, your behavior is being impacted. And I always stress that this is anyone, any age, any background, any place where they live, country, religion, race. What is also important to think about is that how trauma manifests or impacts one person is going to be different from another person. So every person's trauma is unique. My trauma experience is going to be different from any one of your trauma experiences, or my mom's or my sister, even if we're related. Just think about if you come from a family where you have brothers and sisters and something happened in your family, like during Christmas of 2000, and one of your family members remembers it one way and you remember it another way. A lot of times it's because of how trauma impacts you. What I think is important for us to remember is that there are different reactions. And these are called trauma responses. It could be someone going into a fight reaction or fight response, or it could be a flight response, freeze, or a fawn response. And we're going to get into what that means. But just know that even if you have a fight response today, you could also have a flight response tomorrow. And we're going to break that up. So the fight, I think it's self-explanatory when you think about it, but what does that look like in real life? It's when something happens that's traumatic or traumatized, your instincts take over your body. And the way your instincts take over your body can be in any one of these categories. So in the fight category, you can act like the pushback. You can be in a self-defense stance. You can be in an assertive stance. You could be in a way where you really jump into the situation. And I always use the example of a grandmother that was a victim of a push-in robbery into her apartment. And when the person pushed her into her apartment, her body went into this fight reaction. And she removed the knife that he had and took it away from him and held him in her apartment until the police came. That was her fight response. It is very much your body just goes into the stance. Now, the flight response is very different. It's like, I am getting out of here. I could be actually leaving physically, or disconnecting in my body. I'm just zoning out. And that could be a number of things. You see something happen and you run from it, like a car accident or an event that is so overwhelming that you watch that then you run away. Or if you can't run away because you're in a tight space, then you, in a way, disconnect from what's happening. And that is like your body just removing yourself from the danger. It seems very similar to the freeze response, which I'll get into now. And that is, I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this, and I am just gonna freeze in the moment. And we see many animals do that. I don't know if you've seen any nature documentaries or you heard things like a possum or certain kind of deer. When someone comes in who is a threat to them, they just act dead. That is what many mammals do. We may not be acting dead in a freeze response, but we may be feeling very numb and completely disassociated from that experience. And these are things that happen to survive the event or the experience. So they work in the moment. The last one is fawning, and that is to appease or to try to make nice and people please so that whatever traumatic thing is happening kind of finishes and ends. And it's a way also that we feel like we're controlling a situation. And an example of that could be, let's say you were kidnapped and you are being nice to the kidnapper in order to, let's say, get more food or in order to protect yourself from being harmed. That is a fawning response. And many survivors of domestic violence can also fawn because their partner or their spouse is still living with them and they may want to survive the next week, the next day, so they act nice in order to bring the temperature down. Now, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response can happen to anyone at any time, and it could be different at any moment in time. And this conversation is to normalize it, to make you all recognize that if you've experienced any of these things, or if you do in the future, this is normal and natural on how the body wants to protect itself and survive. I'm just gonna quickly say that chronic trauma or trauma that happens a lot can have symptoms of what's called post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. And just to be very clear, this again can happen to anyone. It's unique. But what we know is that there may be things like a lot of nightmares, flashbacks, severe anxiety, and uncontrollable thoughts about the event. And there is definitely help. There is definitely help when the trauma that experience has gotten to the point that your body is now experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. And this is also something that many people experience from people who were in military or war, survivors of domestic violence, of child abuse. Let's say you were a part of a major earthquake or something like 9/11 that happened to us, and you were right in the middle of it. That can also create PTSD.